This is Tanisa Montgomery, and you are listening to Measure of Royalty. As a licensed mental health counselor, there sometimes will seem to be a pattern of conversation and a theme of conversations that I'm having with clients and people around me in a given week. I feel like these are great areas to kind of expound on and try and make sense of in this format where I'm not bound by the rigidity of the clinical expectations of speech. There are certain things that you can and cannot say to clients about how to manage things, about how to push through things, because that process is their process. And I'm not the driver of that process. And so this podcast is really an opportunity for me to be the driver of the conversations and the themes that come up each week in therapy. Today we're going to talk about respect and love, self-respect, and the fullness of life. Now stick with me, because if you're listening, you might think those things sound so vastly different from one another and so far apart from each other, but I promise you they are not. There's a value in respecting ourselves and not following the crowd and choosing what is in our best interest, even when it doesn't feel good. There are times when what is best for us sucks. There are times that we have to choose what is best for us, even when it doesn't feel like fun anymore. Ending a relationship, quitting a job, these things, breaking off a friendship, dismissing people who will hurt you, who will bring you down, who will siphon your energy. These are things that don't feel good. And this is love. It is love when you go on a date with someone a few times and you have to say to that person, this is not the direction that I want to go in. This isn't the relationship that I want to pursue. And when you do that with honor and dignity, I really feel that there's such value in even saying to a man or woman, even at such a premature, some people might think a premature time, the reasons why it's not going to work. Not like, well, your hair is too short and I like people with long hair. Your hair is this color. Nothing phony or fictitious. But when there are genuine character flaws that you are seeing in someone that you cannot see past into the future, there is a value and there is a love that should come from. That place from you that says, you're not in position to provide these things for me, but also you should know what will help you be successful in the future if you want the advice. I think there's a way to say that, and you can simply say, I've appreciated our time together. However, there are these few sticking points that I think hold value for me, and I'm just not sure that you're interested in growing in these areas or that you're able to. And that's okay for you to feel that way. You don't have to break things off with people and let people go on in the world and be a mess, never successful. If I can offer a word of advice, then I should do that. This goes counter to the ghosting culture that is today. Instead of me saying, I don't think that we have the same interests or that our paths are aligning because I'm in pursuit of a relationship with God and you are in pursuit of a relationship with the world. And those are major sticking points where we part ways. I believe that you can say that in a respectable way without ghosting. When did we stop talking to each other? When did we stop saying, "You that hurt me when you behave that way"? When you say negative things to me, it makes me feel distant from you. And because the future of that language would break me, I now have to remove myself for my own safety. But I hope that in the future that you're able to take that information and find a way to heal so that your speech is loving toward others. But in this moment, I can't receive that unto myself because I'm on a self-love journey. Because I want to be whole when I meet my spouse. And so for that reason, I don't think this is going to work. Or even if it's a friendship, there are sometimes we get into friendships and we feel stuck because they're not yet very rude or aggressive and they're not polite or kind, but they're somewhere in the middle where there's this space where maybe they're gossipy, but you've never heard them gossip about you. Or maybe they have snarky comments or snarky comebacks to different situations or things that might happen. And or maybe that person is rigid in the way that they think. And what you're seeing is their lack of grace and compassion toward others. And so we find ourselves in these relationships where we say, well, maybe I shouldn't end this friendship because they haven't done anything to offend me. They haven't done anything to make me mad, or they haven't done anything directly to me. So what, I don't have the right to leave that relationship? I think on the basis that I'm uncomfortable with the comments that you make about another woman wearing something and she doesn't look appropriate to you, or she doesn't look attractive to you, or you think those pants are too tight or that skirt is too short. Those kind of comments make me uncomfortable. And while you haven't said anything necessarily damning, the problem is that if you do that regularly and continuously and everywhere we go, you have some comment to make about anything that you see that is off kilter to you or inappropriate to you or unappeasing to you. That's the gray space where you say, gosh, I mean, they're not saying anything that is untrue. They're not saying anything that I wasn't thinking. But then it becomes more of like, but do you have to make a comment about everything? Because I don't know that that's really the type of relationships that I want to entertain. I don't know that I want to be friends with someone who doesn't understand that in one situation I might act one way, and in another situation I would never do that. What I would say to you at your house on your couch, and the loud language that I might use, I might speak more loudly with you there. That does not translate to us being at a lounge in the middle of downtown. The same volume doesn't translate. Is that enough to end a friendship? Because they don't know how to bring the volume down in an appropriate space? See, we get stuck in these things and we say, well, it's not really fair to them. But what's not fair is that I'm uncomfortable sitting with you with the negative comments, with the gossipy statements, with the loud vocal tone in a quiet space. And we're stuck in this gray place where we don't really know, where is it okay to cut that person off? I think there are spheres of influence that come into play here. And I think there are friendships and there are relationships that we say, I can hang out with this person in this place or that person in this place. And maybe that's not fair, or maybe that's not right. I'm not 100% sure on that. There are no 100% answers here, because every situation is different. But what I am saying is that if I am uncomfortable by the treatment or mistreatment of a relationship, the first thing that I would do, first thing I have done, is approach that person and just say, listen, I really don't appreciate it when you make comments about every woman's body when she enters the room. That makes me uncomfortable. If you think she's inappropriately dressed, it's okay that you think that way. It's okay maybe every once in a while you say something, but it feels like every time we're out, every time someone else is around, there's something negative to be said. Inside of myself, I'm thinking they're saying that because of their own insecurities. And to me, that speaks to a self-love issue, a self-love concern. And now I've had people often ask me like, oh, you're a therapist. You're always a therapist, no matter where you are, no matter what company you're in, you're always a therapist. And I guess to some extent I am, but just the same as an engineer is always an engineer, no matter where he is or she is, whatever your career is, whatever your field or your industry of work is, you are always, right? You're never going to not be an accountant just because you're, at a volleyball game. That doesn't make you not an accountant. You're still an accountant no matter where you go. So how we think does make us show up the way that we show up in a space. And so in my mind, when I hear people doing that thing where they have to make a comment about this person or that person, or they're a little bit gossipy, my first thought is there's a self-esteem, a self-love, a self-worth, a self-value concern. And I don't want to not be friends with somebody because they're struggling with self-love. So then I have a push and pull feeling inside of me. Do I maintain this relationship because there's so many other great attributes to this person? They're funny and they're career oriented and they are well educated and they carry themselves well. They're classy and they're ambitious. I don't know if I said that twice, but if I did, then you see how much ambition means to me. But I really feel strongly that if I am no longer enjoying my experiences with you, if it is hampered too many times, I mean, for me, I give it about 3 times. If my experience is hampered by another person's negativity more than twice, like sequentially, like every third time we go out, we're going to have a conversation about that. And if I don't see a change, then to me, I'm ready to end the relationship. The friendship for me is not necessarily not moving into the next level of relationship. We can stay acquaintances. If I see you in public, I'm definitely going to speak. I'm going to respect your name. I'm not going to put dirt on your name. I'm not going to have anything negative to say about you. Will I still answer the phone for you? Of course. Will I still text and respond to you? Of course. If you invite me to somewhere and I want to go and I feel like we could have an enjoyable time, of course. Now, for me, I might preface that because that's just who I am. Okay. I might say, yeah, I would love to do that with you. But what would bother me is if we got there and you immediately started talking about people and how they're dressed. That would make me uncomfortable and it would make me want to leave. But if we can go and not do that, then I'm in. I'm interested. I really want to go. But I want to enjoy myself. And I don't want to think anything negative about anybody about around me. I just want us to enjoy ourselves, have fun, laugh, and joke, and, enjoy each other's company. But I want peace in my relationships. And I think there's a respectability factor because in that time, this woman, she knows that I'm showing up with the expectation, and I hope that we can have fun. I hope that we can enjoy ourselves. But also I have a level of self-respect that if I've paid my money into something, hey, I've even done that. If I've had experiences and I've had conversations with people about I don't want to go to this place if there's going to be gossiping, if there's going to be talking negatively about people. I just don't want to do that because that's not what I want to entertain. And I will get there or I will think about going. And then I've said, no, I don't want to go because I don't want to spend my money on dinner. I don't want to pay to sit with someone who I'm not going to enjoy my time with. I'm going to pay for dinner. If I'm paying for dinner, I want to enjoy my time. I want to enjoy my dinner. I want to enjoy my company. So is it then wrong that I say no? Because I'm not going to enjoy my time. I'm not going to enjoy my company. It's okay to break off those relationships where we feel that is respect. I've respected this person. I've respected myself. I've set up a boundary and an expectation. I want to enjoy myself and I want to have the freedom to relax. Talk about the meal. Talk about the week. Talk about who you're dating. Right? So we focus on loving ourselves and giving ourselves the space and the environment that we feel comfortable and relaxed in, that we feel like we're spending our energy and our time with people who nourish us, who don't cause us to wonder what they're saying about us when we're not present. Because what I can say is that when I hang out with people or when I have hung out with people who were gossipy to me, toward me about someone else, then when I'm not with them or when I decide not to go, I immediately think, what are they saying about me? And that's not a relationship that I want to entertain, where I have to be wondering what was said about me in my absence. Now, I will say this. There's a flip side to that. If I have a history of people speaking negatively about me, let's just say I was bullied in high school or middle school, and I always used to think when I heard people laughing in a corner together, I would say, oh my goodness, what are they saying about me? They're talking about me. That is a self-worth, a self-value issue that I would have to work on. So it's twofold. I don't want to be impeding anyone else's enjoyment by being gossipy or having negative conversation. And I don't want my joy and my pleasure, my excitement, my thrill impeded on by someone else gossiping. And so it's a two-way street. How do I find the relationships that are for me? Well, I start taking classes that I enjoy. If you like art classes, take an art class, take a painting class, take a sculpting class, take a clay making class, right? There are plenty of ways. Take a sewing class, join a small group at your church. All of these ways, join a prayer group, right? All of these ways will help me to meet people who are thinking like me, who enjoy the things that I enjoy, who I'm already going to have something in common with. And yeah, you might not meet somebody the first week you go to art class, but you're already pouring into yourself by showing up to the art class, because it gives us an individualized fulfillment to create. And so by creating, I'm feeling fulfilled. And so even if I don't make a relationship in that art class, I've created a thing, or I'm working to create a thing that will bring me joy and pleasure, to know that I constructed it with my hands, that I was able to make something and create something. And so in doing that, I'm already meeting a psychological need of fun and freedom. Because when we create from our minds, we are expressing our ability to be free thinkers without restriction or constriction. So you're in this art class, you're sculpting, you're creating freely. And because you're consistently showing up, before you know it, you're speaking to the woman who's been creating next to you, and you're asking her about her art project, and she's asking you about yours. And then you find out that you have other things in common. You both have teenage kids, right? You find out that you both serve at your church. You find out new and more things about one another. And from there, you build a relationship based on things that you love. So before you know it, and some of you know this, she'll be sending you art classes. You'll be sending her art classes. You'll be saying, I've always wanted to try metalworking. And she'll say, so do I. And you'll both go out and search after that. And now you have a friendship based on a foundation that is more solid than hanging out with people who sometimes you feel comfortable, other times it feels awkward, and all you're doing the whole dinner is hoping that nobody walks in the room that offends the person or the people you're with. And if that is you, if you are the person who is gossiping and catty or rigid or, typecasting people, then call me. I want to help you with that. Go to my website, remnanthousecounseling.com, and fill out the contact me form. Let me help you find a way to curb those behaviors that cause people to ghost you. But if you're doing the ghosting, start speaking up and telling people in honesty and in love. You don't have to be in love with a man to tell him out of a place of love that the way that he speaks to you is going to cost him his future wife. Okay, maybe don't say it in those exact words. Find the finesse, find the language, in genuine authenticity, communicate to one another. And I hope this podcast is good to you. Anyways, go ahead and follow, subscribe, leave a comment or a question about the subject or about any topics that you want to hear about. You can find more out about myself and get therapy or coaching from me at remnanthousecounseling.com. And I hope to hear from you all and see you soon. Bye.